Well, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Live at the Waterhole, everyone. My name is Amy, and I will be with you for the show today. And what a beautiful way to start here at Tembe Elephant Park in KwaZulu-Natal of South Africa with elephants. What a lovely scene. It's always so beautiful. Now, remember, everyone, that this is a live and interactive show. So please do make sure that you send through your comments and questions to me. I'd love to hear from you. Say hello, let's chat. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from, what snacks or drinks you have with you. And yes, let's just enjoy this show together. Lovely, relaxing time here at various waterholes across Africa. You can send through those comments and questions through the Wild Earth website or the app. You can also chat to us in the YouTube chat stream, or you can join the conversation on X using the hashtag Wild Earth. Now, all of a sudden, there is a lot more water around here at Tembe. I'm sure they've had plenty of rain. All these sort of pools surrounding the waterhole were completely dry. And now there's standing water, and the elephants are just loving it. You can see this bull is currently spraying himself with mud. So watch how he loosens some with his feet, front feet there, and then scoops it up with his trunk and throws it on his body. And this all has to do with keeping cool. These elephants love to throw mud, water, sometimes even have a full on swim to cool down their enormous bodies. I think it also works as a bit of an exfoliant. Feels really good then when they are full of mud to go and rub up against a tree or something like that. Scratch the different itches that they may have. They I love it. It's great to be able to do the waterhole show as well, and then go out on a drive this afternoon. I'm already looking forward to it. It's always exciting to know that there's something to follow up on. We're definitely planning to maybe head out to follow up on 2 male lions that were seen this morning on our sunrise drive. Fingers crossed I'll finally meet those 2 males. For those of you who maybe don't know, on Wild Earth, we have live safaris, which are broadcast every morning and afternoon, 6 days a week. Tuesdays are for our members and explorers, and Monday is a non-live day, but all the other days we have a live safaris, and then in between we have this waterhole show. So if you are interested in maybe checking that out, we will be live this afternoon at 4 p.m. Central African time. This elephant actually has a rather large tusk. I'm not sure of the size of the tusk on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side, that's quite a long, thick tusk there. One of my favorite calls in the bush is that of the gorgeous bushshrike, which is quite plentiful in northern KwaZulu-Natal region where we are looking at the moment. So I'm just waiting to hear that call in the background. It's a really pretty one. And a beautiful bird, hence the name, gorgeous bushshrike. Stevie, you say you had a -7-degree night in Scotland yesterday, and you have your heating on full, and now you're transporting yourself to Africa for the day. Well, welcome, Stevie. It's good to have you here with us, and I hope that you are being transported all the way over here to Africa. I actually mentioned this morning, but there's plenty of sunshine to go around, so I'm sending some your way. And these boys really don't have too many places to be. They can take their time and do their thing. There's really no rush for them whatsoever. George, yes, it is an interesting topic to speak about with regards to TB in wild animals and vaccinating wild animals. In terms of systems like the Greater Kruger National Park and just places, the sheer number to try and vaccinate animals is the cost is just astronomical in terms of the worth or benefit that it would bring. Also, disease in general being a natural population control mechanism. We mustn't forget that. And the importance of disease in a natural ecosystem out here. Of course, it's never nice to think of animals dying. It's not a pleasant thought that we like to dwell on, but it is part of nature. It is part of this balance that we always speak of. And although an animal out here, especially lions, can actually survive a very long time, even being infected with it. And it's really only in the last 6 months of their life that that TB comes to the forefront, and there's a massive drop in weight, and that animal then gets extremely sick and passes away. Um, so, in terms of do wildlife ever get vaccinated, I'm sure in smaller reserves or more controlled areas where more intensive conservation has to be done, vaccinations could be given. Um, a, an exact example, I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure that there are cases where, in order to protect the wildlife and to build up a population um, to a certain number or things like that, when the population was quite small, that vaccinations have taken place in order to protect those animals and ensure more likely to ensure their survival, especially with critically endangered animals or something like that that may need to have special protection in smaller areas that can be more easily monitored. But on a greater scale, it's just something that's not that feasible of an option. SD has been facing that way for a while. I think it's he's just comfortable, still busy finishing off his mud spraying session. You can see how relaxed he is. Look at those back legs shifting the weight from one side to the other. And you can also see those ears are flapping, moving forwards and backwards. Some often think that that is a sign of aggression. In this particular case, not at all. He's simply just fanning his ears, helping to cool down his body. You can see there he used his right foot to push up some mud to the top, and then he grabs it with the inside, or maybe the tip of his trunk actually, there to throw on himself. Nina, it's a great question. You want to know how the ecosystem would be impacted or how imbalanced it would be if elephants ceased to exist. Well, I can say that the impact would be huge. How imbalanced? I mean, it's an interesting question to think of. It's not that elephants themselves are a major food source or something like that, if we think of other animals or parts of the ecosystem that play that kind of role. So, in that way, um, that wouldn't be impacted. But of course, the major impact that elephants have on an ecosystem, they are referred to as ecosystem engineers because they literally change the shape of the environment. The way that they, of course, the amount they feed means that vegetation is thinned out a lot more. They push over trees, they pull out roots. They have an impact on the environment and the physical nature of the environment that we see. And so without them, you would be changing the whole way the physical environment is structured. There are other smaller impacts, for example, pushed over trees or dug up roots can sometimes form other types of habitats that create homes for smaller animals and that sort of thing. But in general, it would be interesting to think of not necessarily that it would always be a negative thing if elephants cease to exist, but the vegetation type of an entire area could completely change. An example which I'm thinking of at the moment is I've been lucky enough to spend quite a bit of time up in northern Kruger in the Pafuri area, and there were no elephants there for a long time. I think 60s, 70s. I'm not sure exactly when the elephants were introduced or allowed into the area. Um, but because there were no elephants there, specifically the fever tree forest is a really amazing place and ecological wonder, a natural wonder. If I do say so myself, it's one of the most remarkable things to see. Anyway, that forest was perfect in many ways. There were no elephants around. And since the arrival of elephants, there are trees that have been pushed over. They have been, the bark has been removed. And what's happened is in those spaces where that bark is removed, borer beetles have gotten in or larvae, and it's actually killing the trees. And that's a negative impact that elephants have had in that particular area, although the lifespan for a fever tree is actually quite short, relatively speaking, in terms of other trees. It's a very soft, sensitive wood. So, in that way, elephants are changing the landscape of the northern Kruger in the Pafuri area because they weren't there and now all of a sudden they're there and they're having an impact. So, just like if you took out elephants from an area, you would see probably a huge growth or thickening of the bush. Already, we speak about the bush being so thick, and that's why it's so wonderful to have elephants, and it's the right environment to have elephants because there's enough food for them. So it's a fascinating concept to think of elephants in an environment or not. Um, there is a point where I think they can greatly negative. They will change an environment, not necessarily saying that Pafuri is being negatively affected by elephants whatsoever. It's just changing. With their presence, they are having an impact. We can't deny that. And so as soon as an elephant population is then removed or significantly reduced, that environment will respond. So I don't know if I would go as far to say that it would become imbalanced, but there are places that need elephants that would do better with elephants in it in terms of thinning out the bush, creating more space, um, using vegetation mass that is available to them. And of course, a whole lot of other things that elephants do in an environment to help balance it in many other ways. But I think ecosystems are so adaptable in so many ways. And it would actually be interesting to see if there were any case studies that have been done. It would have to be over many, many years, though, because an elephant's lifespan is so long. To actually compare an area that had elephants, taking them out, what is the impact of that? I know in the Addo Elephant National Park, in as well as in the Kruger, I think there are certain areas that they close off. They put up electric fencing as a research zone to see what is developing in that area. If the elephants were not there, what would the environment look like? So those are the sort of studies that I'm talking about. So it's a fascinating question. Thank you for asking it, Nina. Let's head over to Stony Point. Oh, this is very cool. Looks like a girdled lizard. You can see the formation of the scales look a little bit almost pointy, especially around the tail and in the front of the legs. And with a lizard being a reptile, I'm sure it's coming out. I'm not exactly sure if there's any sunshine at the moment. It looks quite overcast, yeah, at Stony Point. But these reptiles love the summer. They love some sunshine and being ectothermic, they get their energy or are able to regulate their body temperature through the environment. And it looks like this lizard is its eyes closed. I think so. Relaxing here. The rock may be quite warm, having absorbed a lot of heat. Oh, Veronica, interesting question. You want to know if scales allow reptiles to be in water for an extended time? I mean, for something like a crocodile and even certain snakes that are water snakes, or ones that are particularly adapted to swimming and hunting in river systems or the ocean. Yes, I mean, the scales are adapted to be able to do that. Now, whether something like a lizard would survive in the water for an extended period, or whether their scales would have any part to play with them being able to survive, I'm not sure. Since, like, if I think of lizards or any of the other reptiles that aren't necessarily living in water or close to water or hunting in water, would be interesting to think if their scales would have any impact on being able to swim. But of course, I think it would protect them from the environment in terms of rain. So it's not like they are, I think they are waterproof. In other words, just like our skin keeps the inside of our body from getting wet, I think the scales would keep a reptile's body from getting wet. But I do think that I have to just check. But I think, like, if this lizard was to have to get into water or swim across somewhere, it would be able to do so. Although it hasn't got webbed feet or anything like that, which are adaptations that other reptiles, for example, like crocodiles, have. Let's head over to Lentor for some birding. Tadio is directing the show today, and she promises me that there was a bird there when she sent us over here. Although I do see some movement there now, so I believe you, Tadiwa. Oh, there are some birdies. I'm trying to identify those birds that we were seeing there. I think there was a northern grey-headed sparrow. This is something different though. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm not sure what that looks, sort of like a sparrow weaver type of bird. We always have such a beautiful sightings here. Yesterday with the baboons was awesome. This bird reminds me so much of a chestnut-backed sparrowlark, although I know it's not. It has the white brows on the top there, like a white-browed sparrow weaver. Must be some version of that we find in East Africa. Oh, there's a wasp. No idea which wasp, but a wasp of some sort cruising around there. Very cool. But we also see we had some, oh, they're the 5-inches. I was just about to say we had 5-inches here yesterday. They were so beautiful. I think they are, I think there's actually Jamisons and red-billed we've seen here. I don't think African, just because African has more grey on the nape of the neck over the back. That definitely looks very red-billed to me. But I know sometimes with the camera, it can sometimes look a little bit deceiving. How beautiful is this? can see that that is a female of the firefinch. It's far less red, still has a bit of coloration, but a lot more grey. Grant, you want to know, what do you do on drive when you can't ID a bird? So I think when I come across something that I'm not sure of, I look for the main features that can help me when I want to look it up on my app or in my bird book. And I love to just sort of talk through a process to myself, or whether if I'm live, then talk through it with the viewers that are watching. And it's amazing how you can actually come to a conclusion by just thinking out loud about what you're seeing, different identifying features such as maybe the beak shape, of course, the color being helpful, any other, depending how close you are, key features, any sort of shading or mottling on the chest, distinctive white eyebrow, for example, or eye ring, maybe color of the leg, color of the beak, color of the eye, all of those sort of things. And you'll also get a jizz of the bird, which is a general impression of shape and size. And that's why with that bird that I'm not sure of, I was like, oh, this looks like a sparrow weaver, because in South Africa there's a bird called a white-browed sparrow weaver, which looks almost exactly like that, but it has a more gray black back. In comparison to that, it almost looked quite reddish or dark red color, but it had those very white thick lines above the eye, which I associate with a white-browed sparrow weaver. So that is why I went there. And then the red-backed sparrowlark, chestnut-backed, sparrowlark is another bird that I'm familiar with, that chestnut color. So that's why I put those two things together. And hopefully I'll be able to have a little look and work out exactly which bird it is. Oh, wow, we've got a whole party going on here now. Looks like a laughing dove, some northern grey-headed sparrows, I believe, another firefinch, and there's something else there on the left. I'm not sure what that is. Looks like a female or something that's out of breeding plumage. Very thick bill, so if I'm looking at identifying features on this one on the left, I would look and see it's quite a spotty head. It's got like little grey half circles around the back of the head and onto the neck, almost stripy, similar to that of something like a patilia, but very sparrow-like as well in many ways. There, the sparrow is coming to drink now, but bigger in size, you can see that in comparison to those birds in between there. But quite a thick bill. Oh, one's getting a bit of a yellow cheek. I mean, yellow cheek, sorry. A red cheek. Another goldeny color. That looks like almost a red-headed weaver there coming in on the right, but out of breeding plumage. Or a female. Oh, wow, there's a lot happening here all of a sudden. This is so cool. It's also cool because I'm learning more and more about East African birds, and there's some that I've become quite familiar with through the show. But I'm also learning more about the different species that we see. We saw a blue-cheeked waxbill here, which was, a blue-capped waxbill, a blue waxbill with a bright pink bill yesterday, which was awesome. I remember seeing a straw-tailed wider at Aldonio on the camera as well. That was so cool last year. But can I just add that when I can't ID a bird, I get, it nags me. It bothers me so much, and I have to try and get to a positive ID. And if I can't, oh man, send photos if I have any. Try and, oh, there's a baboon arriving. I really try and work it out. It bothers me so much. Well, this was fun. Let's head over to Oldonio. Oh my goodness. That is a lot of giraffes. Goodness me. I don't think I've ever seen so many together. Yeah, we've had about 10 or 11 before. But this is, goodness gracious, it must be over 20. We're back at Tembi, everybody, and unfortunately, the feed at El Doño just wasn't stable enough. But how cool to see all of those giraffes! And wow, look at that elephant in the middle. Very impressive pair of tusks there. This elephant's come here to start splashing about, and I think that one I was talking about tusks is there now on the right hand side, moving this way. Yes, Penelope, absolutely. There's definitely been quite a bit of rain here at Tembi. Waterhole is looking beautiful and full. Ethel, you want to know what are the signs when an elephant is about to charge you? Um, Ethel, it becomes very clear very quickly that an elephant isn't happy. Um, it is important to distinguish between just being uncomfortable and then seriously, um, threatening behavior and then actually becoming a danger to being on foot as well as in a vehicle. Um, an elephant is an animal that's very expressive, and in that way, we're very fortunate to be able to have signs that they give. Some people with experiences in different situations will say that elephant came out of the blue, they gave no warning signs, and I'm not saying that that doesn't ever happen, but in general, in most cases, an elephant will be very clear about the way it's feeling, and one needs to take the necessary steps to then de-escalate the situation. There are definitely times that it is not one's fault. You didn't know the elephant was there. You surprise it by coming around the corner. There were very thick bushes, etc., etc. But I think I was actually chatting with Maxine, another guide, a naturalist here at Wild Earth, and we had a fantastic chat on one of our on safari episodes about elephant behavior and what are sort of the golden rules when it comes to about respecting the animal, reading the signs. Of course, that means you need to know what to look for, which we're going to chat about just now, and then also not having a ego involved, in thinking that I'm not going to move, you must move, sort of situation. There are times to stand your ground, there's times not to. And I suppose those are the very fine lines that only experience will bring as to your feeling about that animal in a situation. But for the most part, if an elephant's going to charge you, their tail is most probably straight horizontal out. Those ears are not flapped forward, but actually pressed straight back, next to the head. And sometimes they'll lift up their head a bit and then lower it. Often, if their head is up and their ears are out, they're still sort of investigating. They're trying to look intimidating. And often, elephants do that when they pass in front of the vehicle or even around the side. It's like an instinctual thing where they'll fan out their ears and they'll lift up their heads and their tail will go out straight, but it's not actually aggressive. It's more just they're trying to intimidate. As they walk past because they're feeling a little bit vulnerable. And that's usually actually when you are, for the most part, in a vehicle, although they can do it when you're on foot as well. So those are the things to look out for. But if you're at that point, there's not much one can do. Relaxed, walking slowly, and they're coming towards you. They've chosen that path. They could move a different way, but they've decided not to. And they always just walk by so gently and calmly. Like I say, some might fan out their ears, some might give you a bit of a head shake, but nothing bad is going to happen. Whereas if you can see, you sense that there's a little bit, they're uneasy. There's a bit of trumpeting going on. They running around. There's something that spooked them. We don't know everything that happens out there in the wild, what they might smell. Maybe there's been an animal in distress, or maybe there's been a calf that's died, or a stillborn, or there could be so many things that could happen that we have no idea. And when we sense that, well, at least when I'm out on drive, I just reverse, I turn around, I don't even go past those elephants, because why must I put myself in a situation that could potentially lead to them not being very happy with the vehicle? And then I'm stuck. Now I've got elephants in front of me, elephants behind me, and I can't do anything. And I knew that they were upset. I just, ethically, it doesn't make sense to do that. But if that happens and they're completely calm, then I have nothing to worry about. Um, Also, another thing to really look out for is to not be between a mother and a calf. I always wait if a mom's with a baby, for the mom and the baby to cross the road before I sort of drive forward. And often when a herd is around you or something like that, I love to just park, switch off, and let them do their thing. In terms of, for example, an elephant bull walking down the road, it happens so many times in the Kruger, for example. What do? I've had times where I've pulled off and just switched off the engine and the elephants walked right past me and it hasn't been an issue. He gave me a head shake and walked on. But then there are other times where I felt, oh, this bull is a little bit uneasy. I'm going to give him space. And I just kept reversing. And often when a bull is walking down the road, he has an idea of exactly where he wants to go to. And most likely there's a game path coming up, maybe close, it may be far, and he's probably heading towards a water source or something like that. So the better you know the area, that also helps you make informed decisions. But yes, best just move out the way, give him the space that he wants, that he's demanding, especially if you don't have experience with elephants. There's no point taking a chance. And then he gets upset. We've all Another factor to take into account, which I actually just remembered now, especially when it comes to elephant bulls, is whether they are in must or not. And that is basically a heightened state of testosterone and can often lead to more aggressive behavior. There's a high level of frustration in the elephant. Often it's apparently their testes also enlarge, which can make it quite uncomfortable for the elephant. And depending how mature they are and how sort of experienced they are with must, it affects their behavior in different ways. Some elephant bulls in must are completely relaxed and don't really change at all, but the others that you can clearly see just constantly look ticked off. And those really are ones that you have to be aware of and careful with, because they can be the individual that comes in, your vehicle or something like that. So in that, what you're looking for is the penile sheath between the back legs will be wet. It'll be dripping urine. The back legs are often also wet. Sometimes the actual tip of that sheath is like a greeny color as well. And that means that elephant bull is in must. Max, hello. You are asking if elephants can really paint. Um, I can't say that I've ever seen an African elephant painting, but I do believe that there are videos of Asian elephants which actually have a higher, I think it's is it EQ, intelligence level basically. So they can be trained to do a lot more clever, inverted commas, things like painting or using a brush to put color on canvas. Let me put it that way. They very good at being able to be trained to do clever little things or um, tricks or painting a picture for you. Well, that was a great discussion about elephant behavior. Let's head over to Kenya to Lentori. Well, looks like there is at least one baboon that is still here, and I'm sure there are a few birds around as well. I think these baboons are loving the anatomy sea pods that fall down. Victor, interesting that you asked that question. If I've heard any stories there, uh, dangerous stories between baboons and humans. I can't say I've personally heard anyone tell me of a situation where they were bitten or attacked by a baboon. But who was it Liam that was telling me the story? He's my fellow presenter and naturalist here with me at Juma at the moment, and um, about a baboon that was in a sort of in a workshop. Um, no, it wasn't. It was actually a colleague um, at a different place that was telling me this story. And he was sent to go get the baboon out of the workshop because the workers needed their tools from the tool shop, and they didn't want to go in because this baboon was sort of inside and didn't want to come out. And so he went to investigate, and it was a female baboon, and she was completely non-aggressive whatsoever. And he realized it was a female. He just waited, and after an hour, the baboon just came out. Um, but if you are in a very small space and that baboon can show his teeth at you, shout potentially, and like I say, I haven't heard personally of a story of someone being attacked by a baboon, but I do think if they are provoked or feel threatened, or like I say, in a very tight space, they can do that. But they most for like the tactic that they would use first is intimidation, and that is a lot to do with then baring their teeth, making noise, trying to intimidate with eye contact, making themselves look bigger. And so there's no need to then provoke that, but rather back away and de-escalate the situation always. But generally, you can walk past baboons, you can sort of be sitting and they'll walk past you without actually it being a threatening or dangerous situation. But as soon as baboons begin to enter areas where there's human habitation, the risk for um, dangerous situations can happen, especially when they start breaking into homes, when they become very confident in their abilities and they realize that they can intimidate. And I even have heard, I assume the same would apply to a baboon, but with vervet monkeys being able to differentiate between male and female humans and knowing that they can intimidate women more than men. And they, for whatever reason, I think they've learned the reaction that they often get from women people is one that is far more I don't want to say submissive, that's not the right word, but one that is more scared of them than, let's say, men. Or perhaps it's a size thing in terms of male humans generally being a bit bigger than females. So therefore, they know the smaller individuals and are easier to intimidate. Um, and that can, oh, there's that wax bull again with the pink beak. It doesn't look like it is. This one doesn't have a blue cap. Could be the blue cheeked one. But so pretty with that pink beak. Goodness me. And the same goes for children when it comes to monkeys knowing this. The humans, the two-legged ones of smaller stature, are easier to intimidate, which is fascinating. And I mean, I have been tried to be intimidated by vervet monkeys before. Even here at camp, they are always around our vehicles or something like that, and they'll look at you. But I once got a broom and I just banged on the zinc roof, and they all ran away very, very quickly. So they often with the monkeys, they're a lot more scared of you than you are of them. But they can be very intimidating, especially when they sort of look at you and they flash their white eyelids at you, and they sort of, I don't want to say hiss, but they bare their teeth and they sort of come at you. It's very, very intimidating. And the last thing you want is a bite from a monkey or a baboon. I mean, the risk of diseases or infections or things like that are high. These 5 inches are having a great water bath there. Oh, hello. That was cool. Little cameo. Looked like a terrapin. It is on the move. Goodness me. Looks like it's wanting to find maybe a sunny spot. Maybe it just wants to find another water hole. Who knows? Wow, a lot more here than we first expected. Let's head over to Stony Point. Ah, the cormorants are still around. These are bank cormorants, and some of them are drying off. We were speaking yesterday about um, the waterproofing of feathers and how these particular birds actually soak through their feathers because they need to dive under the water and not sort of be floating. And obviously, oil and water don't mix, which allows them to, if they're too well oiled, they won't go down under the water. So they stand like this with their wings out often to dry off. The cormorant definitely had something in its beak in the water, something dark. I'm not sure what that was. And I love that we have this location as part of our waterhole show. Such variety having a coastal spot. Spas, it is lovely. We also have some gulls here in front doing some preening. There was a white-breasted cormorant there that just waddled past. You can clearly see the difference there in the one species in comparison to the other. It's also a little bit larger in size. Well, don't fall off. Just remember, everybody, that this is, of course, a live and interactive show. So if you do have any comments and questions, do make sure to send them through. You can also join the conversation on X using the hashtag Wild Earth, or chat to us in the YouTube chat stream if that is where you're watching the show. Catherine, hello. Thanks for sharing your comment regarding the baboons. We were chatting about them earlier at Lentor, and I'll just share that you said you have seen a male baboon getting into a car with people in it and they needed stitches afterwards. So there you go, confined space. I mean, why the baboon went into the car, I don't know. Probably for food, usually the motivation many times behind baboons encountering humans, and that of course led to that animal reacting as it would if it felt confined in a space, and of course the people also reacting, and that whole situation wouldn't have made for a good outcome, unfortunately. So yes, I think these things do happen, but myself personally, not having heard a story as of yet, or having someone I know be attacked or something along those lines. Spas, great question. The cormorant species in general, whether it's the white-breasted, the bank cormorant, or the Cape cormorant, or even not here, but you also get a reed cormorant, which is more along rivers and things like that. Um, they all pretty much do the same thing, behavior-wise. Just bearing in mind their size means that they can take bigger or smaller prey. But at the end of the day, they all are birds that swim and hunt in the water. They come out and they often sit and fan out their wings to dry off, and then they do it all over again. A lovely visit here to the cormorants of Stony Point. Let's head over to Tenby. It looks like these bulls are moving around a little bit more now. It clearly didn't want to stick around for us, everyone. I think those are foam nest frog nests. Foam nest frog nests. Uh, I'm not, it's a bit far, I will say. I'm not exactly sure, but often when you see white things like that at this time of year, that's what it is. There are plenty of hardy dyes, I think some Egyptian geese, and a woolly a neck stalk moving around as well. Ah, that looks like some nyalas, including a baby one there on the left. Female nyala and a youngster. Oh, and there is a young male that's just come out, also Nyala, but you can see that color difference coming through there in his coat. No longer that orangey brown color, but turning into a much darker brown. Still has the yellow legs, and the horns are big, but they're not fully grown just yet. Dumi, you'd like to know how much these Nyalas usually weigh. So the males are a lot larger than the females, and they range somewhere around the 100 kg to about 120 kg mark. A fully grown Nyala bull. And then the females are pretty much half the size, anywhere from 50 to 70 kgs, maybe a little bit bigger, some of the larger females. And it's interesting, just um, a point to mention is Nyala, bull, and Hugh are so in the English language we refer to generally a bull and a cow and a ewe and a ram, depending on the size of the animal. So bigger animals are bulls and cows, and smaller animals are ewes and rams. If we think of an impala, we call them a ram, and the females are a ewe. Um, Whereas in Nyalas, it's an Nyala bull, but an Nyala ewe is the female. And it's because of the size, because a male goes above the 100 kg mark. The male is called a bull, but because the female is below 100 kgs, she is a ewe. Just a point of interest on how the animals are named, the males and females. It's never long before some more elephants pop out at Tembe, though, that is for sure. One has come now down to drink. Penelope, I'm so glad you're enjoying the show. It has been a lot of fun with the birding and the elephants and all those giraffes at Old Dunyo. Goodness me, I don't think I've ever seen so many together. And yes, this afternoon we are definitely going to be looking out for some big cats on the sunset safari. Hi, Monica. You loved that giraffe sighting at Aldonio I mentioned earlier. It was very special. Hopefully, we'll be able to see something like that again in the near future. But what a scene here at Tembe. I've just been quietly watching and seeing this elephant I actually have come to know with the floppy ear, the one that's in the middle of the screen now, splashing himself, and all the reflections and the bird sounds are just lovely. Let's head over to some rhinos at Founders to end the show. Oh, lovely. This is awesome. A crash here resting in, I would say, the shade of the tree, but there's not too much shade going around at this moment. Always lovely to spend some time with these are white rhino. And we have had a group of them that seem to hang out and come to this waterhole. There's one on the right there with an oxpecker sitting on its back, a particular type of bird that loves to hang out with a few different types of animals, but rhinos are one of their favorites. To everyone who joined us for today's show, thank you so much. It has been wonderful to have you all with us. We will be back tomorrow, of course, for another show right here, same time, same place. Deb, it's such a pleasure. I'm so glad I could share something with you, and I always learn something from all of you as well. I will be back with you all tomorrow, but before that, tomorrow, I will be out on drive this afternoon. So please make sure you join us for the Sunset Safari that will be at 4 p.m. Central African time. From us for now, though, it's goodbye, and I'll see you out there soon.